The blueprint that predated everything. He wasn't reconstructing a temple. He was reading a message hidden inside one. And the message was about us. Imagine you believe the universe has a hidden structure, not a theory, a certainty, a message encoded by an intelligence that designed reality, embedded in scripture, in matter, in the geometry of a building destroyed 2,000 years ago, waiting for the one mind precise enough to read all three at once. Imagine you believe you are that mind. What do you do with the rest of your life? Newton spent 20 years reconstructing Solomon's temple from nothing but measurements buried in the book of Ezekiel. Cubits and chambers, proportions recorded by scribes who may not have understood what they were transcribing. He wasn't doing archaeology. He wasn't doing theology. He believed the temple had been designed by God as a physical model of the solar system. The sacred fire at its center, the sun. The chambers radiating outward, the planets in their order. The proportions of the whole, the mathematical ratios governing their motion. And then he used those proportions in his gravitational calculations. Here's where the record becomes difficult to ignore. Newton derived a unit of measurement he called the sacred cubit, not from any physical standard, from his analysis of the temple's proportions cross-referenced against Hebrew and Egyptian sources. He believed it was the original unit of measurement used by ancient civilizations, the root from which every other measure had descended and drifted, a length encoded into the geometry of the temple because it was also encoded into the geometry of the earth. Then he used it to calculate the Earth's circumference, and the Earth's circumference was the number he needed to verify his gravitational theory, the number that had eluded him for years, the gap between his prediction and the available data that had kept him from publishing the Principia. When he used the sacred cubit, the numbers aligned. Historians of science have documented Newton's use of these sacred cubit calculations in his gravitational work. The connection between his temple research and his physics is traceable in his manuscripts. Newton believed ancient thinkers had known the inverse square law of gravitation and encoded it symbolically in myth, architecture, and proportion. He saw his own work not as discovery, but as recovery. If the measurement that helped unlock the law of universal gravitation was derived from the proportions of Solomon's temple, what does that mean? One intelligence designed the universe. That intelligence encoded its design in multiple places, in the laws of physics, in the structure of scripture, and in the geometry of sacred architecture. Newton spent 50 years checking. The calculus, the alchemy, the temple, the theology, all of it was the same investigation, approached from different angles, converging on the same answer. He never published it as a complete system. What we have are fragments, scattered across a vast body of private writing. The most precise scientific mind in history looked at the universe and concluded it was a message. He spent his life trying to read it. We still ask the same question today, whether reality has a structure that points beyond itself, towards something that designed it, and we still don't have an answer. Keynes read the papers in 1936 and said Newton was the last of the magicians. Not an insult, a recognition. The last person for whom the boundary between science and something older had not yet closed. We decided the universe was a machine. We built extraordinary things on that decision. But the machine keeps doing things machines aren't supposed to do. Quantum entanglement, fine-tuned constants,
the hard problem of consciousness, dark matter, dark energy, names for things we cannot fully explain, invisible, immaterial, acting across space with no known mechanism. Leibniz would have called it occult. Newton would have recognized it immediately, and he would have known exactly where to look.